to JP's Budget Collecting and another episode of our Collecting Smart series. Tonight with me, as always, is the boy who had 7. Matt, say hello to everyone. Matt, you're on mute.
There we go. What's up, everybody? Had you on mute. Had to get the kids quiet. But excited to talk about bags and boards, get some of your guys' input and see what you guys are doing so maybe they can help us do better, maybe vice versa. So excited to be here as always.
All right. Joining us again tonight for the second episode in a row is Metarog. Let's see if I can actually get us to I won't do what I wanted to do.
There we go. There we go. You're
right,
Jason. There we go. It's a merry-go-round.
Oh, I know. I can't hit the right button. Did I lose Roger too?
No, I'm here.
Okay. So, say hello to everybody. All right.
Greetings, everyone. Great to be here again with these August gentlemen and such a really non-controversial topic because I've been through some controversial ones lately. So I am very happy to be here.
Well, we're hoping it's non-controversial, so that's for sure. And last but not least is Mr. John. What's going on, John?
I got my bell notification, so clearly I'm up on that JP Budget Collecting. I've clicked the little bell. JP and I, it's funny, he's been on my channel a bunch when we've talked about bags, boards, and boxes. So it's fun to be invited on his channel and do the same thing.
Yeah. So that was because we'd had those discussions. And I think I just lost Matt. So
he'll be back.
He'll be back in a second. Let's see if I can get us back to the three of us anyway. So I think Matt's goal for tonight was, because this was actually his idea, so hopefully he'll be back in a minute, was just to talk about, I believe, is thinking about doing the whole Mylar thing, completely. Oh, there he is back. So let's add him in. And he's considering doing the whole Mylar thing, but really we just want to talk about, because there's so many options. Literally, I know this because since I got back into collecting about 2 years ago, I've replaced every bag of board that I had, from my original collection. And I literally bought some of everything. I have Ultra Pro, BCW, Max Lights, My Lights. I have thick boards, thin boards. I have a little bit of all of it.
You're the tough subject.
Yeah, I was just trying stuff to see what I liked and what I didn't. I have the resealable ones with the little that reseal all the way across. I have just regular tape. I went from magic tape to painter's tape to everything else. So I thought it'd be a good time just to kind of talk about what we're doing, where we're at now, maybe how we got there, and just kind of just discuss all the options because there are so many options. Anything to add to that, Matt, since this was kind of your original idea?
Last time we were on the show together, we were with the incredible, and look at me going blank right now, Slab Dragon. There we go.
TJ.
And he mentioned something that kind of got me thinking about this. He was talking about slabs and the bags you use for slabs. And he was calling us out that use the regular plastic ones. And I had never even thought about it. I'm like, that's what I use for everything. And if you're not using Mylar for slabs, you're doing it wrong. And so I was like, okay. And he's like, and even me, I don't even do that. I just leave them out there. So it got me thinking about this, and I'm like, maybe I've been doing it wrong this whole time. I need to hear from some people. So literally just thought about this idea and want to get knowledge so I can make a better, more educated decision on my collection, how I take care of it. So that's where I'm at, man.
Okay. Well, go ahead, Roger.
No, I just said it sounds like a reasonable, your progression there, based on what TJ said, and you're right. Maybe there's no right answer, but I think with a dialogue like this, we can bounce things off each other, and see maybe John has an idea that I never thought of, and maybe you have actually an idea that John didn't think of, and maybe we can all sort of coalesce at some point and say, hey, we figured this out. We know what to do for moderns, for Silver Age, for Golden Age, for odd shaped comics or treasuries. Who knows? Let's see what we come up with.
Okay, I am curious. Is anybody? Because I'm not actually seeing anybody in the chat.
It's hilarious. Comics NYC right off the bat. My Lights 2 crew, baby, fight me.
Look, I have a question. If anyone's in the chat, please sound off now because
Are you clicked on live comments on the right-hand side of your thing? If you click there, you'll see everybody in there.
well, yeah, I see all the comments from before we started, but up in my thing it says live for 5 minutes, but it's saying not showing normally it shows
No comments. Gotcha.
and I would open it on mine, but I'm pretty sure that will crush my internet.
I see comments happening right now. Perry
yeah.
said,
Me too.
Perry says John uses Ziploc bags.
Oh well, so I'm like,
Tim says he's all about
Update.
Ziploc freezer bags. He bought comics that were in a packaged box in one of those once. Oh my god.
okay, so I am not seeing the
John's not the
comments.
only one. John's not the only one who's used that Ziploc. I'll show you that in a little bit.
So, all right, well, we're just gonna roll with it. I can't see the chat, so you guys are gonna have to help me out. I don't know.
I don't mind.
So,
Yep.
Do you want me to run through who's here for you?
yeah, why don't you do that? Give it real quick.
Yeah, I said Kavi. Kavi's in there, and Tim, the Canadian comic hunter, said. Oh, now we lost JP. All right. Tim, the Canadian comic hunter, says bags and boards. I don't use any. Matt's in the chat. JP is in the chat. Perry says for the Alliance, get out of here. We're not talking about games right now. Unruly Simeon and Metarog, of course, you're in the chat. Mark Spector and let's see, Brandon Stawinski. Hey, brother. Mark Spector is saying he's catching up on reading while he's watching us, so that's awesome. Unruly Simmons says, if everyone doesn't bag, board, and box their collection exactly the way I do, they're doing it wrong. Wrong, I tell you. Slaying.
Love it.
That's cracking.
Is quite a character.
Stawinski has now if you guys don't know Brandon Stawinski, he's in a lot of auctions. He sells books. He's an awesome guy. He's saying under $50 gets a regular bag and board. Over 50 gets Mylar or one of my favorites that I keep for long-term buys.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think Kavi was saying something similar with new books. He still polybags anything new from the shop, and then later would transition it if it gains some value or something. J Hood Creative is in the chat. And NYC is saying uses My Lights 2 for mainly everything besides what he picks up on Wednesday. He uses Mylar bags on his slabs. That's his system. He uses Egbert fullbacks / halfbacks. I don't know what any of that means. I'm assuming he's made up words right now.
That's the My Life.
Ernie Gerber.
Made up words.
That's all right. He can make up words. I respect that.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
I would totally buy it. Not actually spend money on it, but believe it. And that's where you go.
So who would like to go first, just talking about what they've done and how they got to where they are? Roger, you want to go first? You've been doing this the longest. Have you just kind of talk about, you said you had a long process of how you got to where you are, and you want to break that down?
Yeah. I mean, I've been trying to store comics since 1973. So yeah, I've been at this a while. Probably a lot longer than any of you have been alive.
You beat me
a little bit.
and there, as I told you, there's quite a progression, right, that went into it. Well, let me tell you what my first method was. Here it is right here. There you go. That is a shoebox. A shoebox. And you, of course, you put the comic in there, and it fits not well. You see it's got a big curl there, and it's not wide enough, And yeah, It's in a poly bag. It wasn't in a poly bag in 1973. There was no such thing. Okay. So that is the first. I used to steal my mom's, shoe boxes when she had the bigger shoes, the pumps in the 70s and stuff. They were a little wider, so you could put your comic. It would fit in there. That was my first method of storing comics.
If only your mom had bigger feet, right?
Yeah, she was petite, 5'2", so the Silver Age wouldn't fit. Those I had to put, like in this method here, that the Silver Age were this method here, the Ziplocs, and of course there were no backing boards, so you took the back of cereal boxes and you stuck it in there, and that was your bag and board in 1970.
Wow, you're blowing me away, brother. You're blowing me away.
That is crazy.
I will shout out to Barbarian Kung Fu, who says he's gone to Comic Cons where he uses a cereal box and he puts the comic books inside of the cereal box and reinforces it and throws it in his backpack because they fit perfectly, he says.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. I used to do that too when I went to conventions. Well, not cereal boxes, so many, but just odd boxes. So those are the antediluvian methods of storing comics. and then in about the late 70s, a miraculous thing happened. There was this ad I saw in a comic for this.
Here, let me bring it up big here.
Protective comic bags from Robert Bell. Yeah. Wow. Mail order. Yeah. Wow. Fabulous. And let me tell you, these for the time, these bags were pretty good. This one is still not that yellowed. It's still not that yellow. This was sent to me by Lawrence from the Go-To Geeks. Yeah. Look at that. $3 per 100. And you add 50 cents for postage. You could tell that was old, guys. 50 cents for postage.
That's crazy.
And that is the start of the bagging, that what we know as the modern bagging phase, back in about 1976, 7, somewhere in there.
Wow.
So yeah, that's why old comics are expensive and high grade, guys, because there was not a very well-defined method of keeping them in the condition in which you bought them. And of course, we read them to death as well, unlike now where people bought for investment. Back then, nobody did that. So.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, I mean, when I was a kid, I just threw them wherever, Mm-hmm. I mean, literally, what made you think about taking care of them, putting them in your mom's shoebox, or, sticking them in those Ziploc bags? Because I didn't even think of that when I was a kid,
I think it was just the love that I had for them, and I wanted to, and I have reread them over and over and over. And my brother had comics, and some of his were either the covers were torn off, or they were absolutely loose. In other words, you had a loose cover and just sort of put it together, maybe a paper clip or tape. And I wanted to keep mine, the integrity of the comic the way that I bought it. At least, I mean, there would be spine ticks and all that, but at least it was kept together. If you put them in a box, at least, when people would throw stuff on top, your mom would be cleaning the closet, she wouldn't, be trampling your comics because they were in a box. You just move the box over.
Yeah.
Shout out to Comics with Bueller in the chat, Bake the Snake, and let's see who else. Bronx, New York. A whole bunch of people jumping in.
Cool. Let me sub up Bronx, New York, because I've never seen him.
Yeah, he was new on the stream last night, I believe. It's the first time I'd seen him on one of my streams. So
from Bronx, New York.
Yeah.
So how long were you basically using the Bell's bag, Roger? How long before different options came available?
Probably till the late 70s, maybe the early 80s. I don't exactly recall when. I know that in 1979 I went to my first comic, LCS, and they had bags that did not have the Robert Bell printing on them. So I'm not sure what those were. They were like they were these. Let me see if I have some. They were like these very cloudy and flimsy polyurethane bags. They're not gonna. It's not gonna show up on camera, guys. It's there.
Well, you can
trust me. They're if this was your windshield, you'd crash into a post. I mean, you can't see a thing through this thing. So and those turned yellow like within, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. They were just yellow, yellow, yellow. They were like mustard, you know. But I'd say late 70s, early 80s. I'd say somewhere in there.
Cool.
So what about boards? When did boards become around the same time?
I can't say, but when the board started, but I did not have boards until I saw that LCS in 1979.
Okay.
And the boards were, you know, like these. You had the cereal box kind of texture on the back.
Yeah.
And then you had this semi-acid free. It wasn't really acid free. They put some kind of coating on here that it's still very porous. And that was they were all like this. They were never, the double ones didn't come until I think like the mid 80s, if I recall correctly. So yeah, that's I would say 1979, 80 is when I got my first board. But usually what I would do is just cut up the cereal boxes, and that's what I would use for a board.
And I will say, like, for me as a kid, the debate was always like buying bags and boards or buying more comics, right? It's kind of evolved to me now where it's like slabbing comics or buying more comics. Like, you know? So, like, as a kid, I remember I never had enough bags and boards for my books. I always seemed to have more bags. So I was always like taking like any piece of cardboard I could find and cutting it. I when I rebagged and boarded recently, I found several that were just like a piece of cardboard. It was like cut like all screwy, and it was like stuffed in the bag. I was like, hey, I guess it worked at the time. Or like the back of a notepad, you know, like I
I did that too, John. Yeah.
Shove that down in there.
You take the staples off. Listen, I had some bags and boards that looked like trapezoids. I mean, you know. They were just awful, you know.
I don't know if I was blind or impatient, but it was like.
It's awesome.
So, what do you use now, Roger? Where have you went to, like in your collecting?
Well, okay. Well, it sort of just depends, right? The majority of my collection is still in poly, but they're, you know, the much clearer type, right? That you know you can actually see the comic in there, and I do use mostly just but the thicker, the good poly, you know, the one that I get through BCW or through the comic shop or through eGerber, and halfbacks. You know, not the fullbacks are more expensive. So for every day, most of my collection just the halfbacks.
Okay, so you do use halfbacks instead of just the regular BCW boards,
right? Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You've had your collection for a long time.
Yeah.
How long have those poly bags lasted you until you start seeing them yellowing and you start thinking, okay, I need to change these out?
Good question. I've had that I remember. I've had 4 every 10 years. I do a purge of my poly bags. So. The first one was in the mid 80s, mid 90s, mid 20s. Yeah, John's over there laughing at me.
No, I'm laughing at Biggie Shack just put Perry Comics in timeout.
I'll put him in timeout. What did Perry do?
Perry was making fun of me. He said John's on this panel, so it's just shy of superstardom. He was throwing so many great jokes in the chat.
Perry,
it's like
he's your partner on that streaming show. So I guess
Perry's got like 4 channels, so he's gonna be back in any second as Perry.
Any second,
in a second.
He's got a troll channel, I'm sure. He's got a troll channel in there somewhere.
Oh, sorry. I was not laughing at you, Raj. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So yeah, about every 10 years, I've noticed that the yellowing differs. Again, I don't keep track of where I got them, you know, from 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Some have been matte. Some have been so yellow that honestly, if it's a white cover, you can't tell. It looks like a yellow cover.
Wow.
Right.
And some 30 years are still see-through. So it just and they're all stored in the same condition, the same long boxes, same air conditioned. You know, I lived in Florida all those years, air conditioned. I have the moisture eliminator. Every stack of comics has them, and I had those for many years. So it, depending, I don't know what process it goes through, but there's some kind of process that some are have a much clearer and longer life, and others turn yellow 4 or 5 years in.
He's back on 2 different channels.
He's got 2 other channels he's in with now. I will say, I don't live in a climate with as much humidity as Florida, so I've not done much on the moisture side here in California. I mean, it's just never gets that humid. I will say that I've made transitions from where I keep the comics, because I didn't want them in a garage that gets up to 100 degrees on a hot day or anything like that.
So Jay Hood is asking about the moisture eliminator. Roger, I've never used that either. How long have you used that, and then where do you get that from?
You can get it at the dollar store. If you have a dollar store by you, you can get them at the dollar store. Walmart has them too, but I haven't really noticed any difference. Walmart is like $2, and then the dollar store is $1. So I've used them for probably the last 15 years or so. Now, before that, you would have the silica gel packs,
right?
And I was lucky that my father. He was a restaurateur for many years, and a lot of the equipment, not the food, but the equipment would come with that silica stuff. So I just rip it off from there. I was a busboy for many years, or then a manager, and I would take that and I would throw that into my comic boxes.
Awesome.
So, I've never had. The only time I've had any problems with moisture had nothing to do with humidity. It had to do with stupidity, and that was because I put a box of comics underneath the air handler in one of our homes in Miami, and of course the condensation when one day the pipes froze, the pipes froze from the Freon that didn't leak or whatever, and of course when it melted on top of the box. So my Submariners in 60s and 70s are appropriately enough water damaged.
Dang it.
Sorry, man. So can you show those again? Do you have them right next to you? The moisture eliminator?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. There it is, moisture eliminator. Or if you speak French, élémenteur de humidité.
I like it. And do you stick that whole thing in the box, or just something come out?
No. These you don't stick this in the box. You stick it on top, okay? Because humidity comes from the top, right?
Okay.
The humidity condensates on here, and if you can hear that, that's water in there, okay? So you want to keep it above. You want to keep it above the boxes because the humidity comes from on top, and that's where it will accumulate. And then you change this out. Now it's about time to change it out. It's about halfway full. So you got to change it out. Here in Mississippi, I've changed, I think, about every 2-3 months. So
wow.
Do you just have one for all your boxes, or you have
no? I have for every row. I have, so in other words, I have 4 of them. One to my left, to my right, and then behind me, I have 2 more rows. So I have 4.
Okay.
Wow.
We're diving deep here. We're way past bags and boards now.
Yeah, we are. I didn't necessarily go down there, but that's cool. I've never really tried to use one of those.
I want to
say I probably should if we got enough humidity. So
where Matt lives, I doubt that he really needs it. It's probably very arid, right? So I doubt you need it. But in Florida, Mississippi, man, if you have a perfectly air-conditioned environment all the time, but power goes out, there's leakage. And sometimes here in Mississippi, especially, there are these brownouts like 2, 3, 4 hours, and that's when the humidity can really come in.
Yeah, believe that. So I'm going to shout out the chat again because I finally got it to come back up. We got Can't Get Enough has dropped in. Hawk79 has dropped in. Vu Hong, what's going on, man? Anybody else that's dropped in recently? Mark Spector, been here.
Are you just listing all of Perry's channels? Because
the 9 Perry channels.
Dad of WoW is one of his.
Dad of WoW, Perry's Gaming, Comic Book Lurkers, and Perry. So Ed D is here. What's going on, Ed D? So I have been so in the last 2 years, like I talked about, I like replaced all my books, like bags of boards, when I got back in last year, basically. And I noticed a lot of what Roger talked about is I remember I got almost all my bags of boards from the same comic shop around the same time, late 90s. And there was a big difference in how much different boards yellowed, how much the bags yellowed. Just going through the same box, like comics back to back, and it'd be like, you pull one out and it's like, dude, that is disgusting. And the next one would look like it was new. And I have no idea what the differences are there. But those were all just polys that I bought at the comic shop. And so when I got back into it, like I started out with polys. And then I started doing some research, and I actually started with the Ultra Pro is what I started with. And I went with the resealables because I'd heard some people talking about, oh, they liked them. And I will say I do like the resealables. I get where people are like, they're dangerous if you don't fold the flap down and you lay the book on them because it is super sticky. But the stupid little tab you got to pull off that clings to everything are horrendous. They are terrible. That is the worst part of these stupid resealables. But the other thing I'll say is most of these, and these are not quite as bad as the BCW. Like I have some BCW. The other thing I did was I bought, and my comic shop gives them to me too. Like my comic shop does everything BCW. The cat is going back and forth. But so I get free bags of boards. So all my new books go in BCW because they're coming from the comic shop. But I've noticed, like I replace these. I don't know if you guys can see this on the camera or not, but there it is. They're already less than 2 years old, like maybe 18 months old at the most, already doing that wrinkling thing.
Yeah, the warping.
The wavy and the warping thing.
Yeah.
Which really, and it's very inconsistent. Some of them do a bunch of it. Some of them don't do it at all. I find that very annoying with the polys. So I did start, let's see, I got some more here. I did start buying some Mylars. And halfbacks is where I started. And I've put basically what I've done with the Mylars is basically $20 books and above kind of have gotten Mylars. All my signed books are in Mylars at this point.
Nice.
And that's kind of where I've went on Mylars. I've actually never used the fullbacks. I actually have an order of fullbacks on the way. I'm going to try those. I just did halfbacks. And I've done, everything else has been just
two halfbacks or one halfback?
Just one is where I started. And in hindsight, I kind of wish I bought some more. I'm going with fullbacks. I'm going to try those and see if I decide I want those or two halfbacks once I have some extra boards. So that is where I had went before the Bueller thing. And like you, John, I tried some of the Max Protection, the Max Lights, and I did regular Max Lights and their regular boards. So, and you can't really tell, but and John will speak to this probably in a minute when we get he talks about what he's bought. But I find them to be in between a poly and a Mylar in clarity. They're clearer. They're definitely stiffer than a poly, but not as stiff as a Mylar. They're kind of an in between. It really seems to me like. So far, I really like them. I am curious about how well they're going to age because I feel like they're a relatively new product. They don't have a lot of a record. So that is a little bit of a concern on my part just because it's an unknown, I think. But I do like them. I like that they're clearer. I like that they're a little stiffer than a poly. They don't seem to be, now I haven't had them quite as long. They don't seem to be doing the wrinkle thing. And then I also did some Silver Age, and I got their really thick boards, which you guys will not be able to see very well, but they're 56-point boards, which are actually even thicker than a fullback, and I really like those.
So you bought the Silver Age size thick board.
Yeah, let me pull the whole. So the backer board, silver, the Comic Pro line, acid free, and like I don't know if you can tell how thick that is, but
Thick,
like
yeah.
compared to let me grab this board, like an old like BCW board. I mean,
Yeah, night and day.
if I can
I
get
can see that on the camera.
Oh,
It seems-
yeah, you can see that. Yeah.
yeah. So that is like, so that's one of the reasons. These are why I decided to actually go to the fullbacks, is I wanted to see and compare them to these. So that's kind of been my history, but it was interesting because like I originally bagged and boarded everything. I stored it in a file cabinet, and that's where it sat for 2000. Well, basically from 96 when I started collecting till 2003, and then from 2003 they were untouched basically till 2 years ago. And so and some of those boards and bags were not yet were still white, like you would hold them up and they looked almost like a new one, and some of them like were disgusting. And I got them all from the same place. It was just kind of weird, but that's my personal experience.
Yeah. It sometimes depends also, Jason, on the comic itself.
Yeah.
That has a somewhat of an effect upon the board, because I've noticed the same thing you have. And for example, I had a Silver Age comic in Silver Age size board and bag, the same kind of bag, and I had a Bronze Age one, and I put them both back in the 70s. And the Silver Age one created a shadow on the backboard.
Oh wow!
Okay, it was a Charlton, which is notoriously known for their poor quality ink and paper. And the Bronze Age one was, like you said, just white as a sheet of snow. So the comic also depends. And if that's the case, you have to change that board out more often if you know that comic is acidifying faster than the Bronze Age one.
Yeah. So NYC is saying that he uses, like, on a regular book, he's using like a halfback with a regular board behind it. He also uses, for older stuff, he uses a fullback and a halfback, which that is a lot. So, and he also goes with like bigger bags. It looks like Golden Age stuff. So can't get enough. Is saying that he's tried those, but he prefers the fullbacks. I do like the texture of like the halfbacks as opposed to, like, I don't know. It's just maybe a mental thing. These seem slick on both sides. I do wonder. I'm sure it's just the acid, the coating, but I do wonder about like, it's just they're a little bit of an unknown. The whole thing with the Max Pro in terms of how long they're going to hold up and how often you need to replace them. John, are you still there? You look like you're frozen on my
No, I'm here. Am I frozen?
Or no, he's just sitting stoically.
No.
I'm thinking.
No, the cogs are turning. It's like Ultra Boy. You can only use one power at a time. You know. You know what? NYC brings up a good point though about you kind of mentioned it in passing about Golden Age, and I agree. You should always put those on a much bigger bag than the others. Reason being is that generally they're much brittler and obviously more fragile. So I always put them on a size on the super Golden Age bags with and of course another thing we haven't talked about is that make sure the backing board is bigger than the comic. Right? Otherwise you get, especially on a Golden Age, it will chip and it will roll like like a rock down a mountain. It really they're just very fragile and not very supple, unless you get one of those rare like file copies or whatever. But the lower grade ones that I buy, you need to have big bags.
So yeah, he says he does that too, Roger. Is what NYC.
You're on mute.
Very smart man, obviously.
That the more fragile the comic, the more you have to think about the size of the bag and the board, which I totally agree. Like I had tried some Silver Age stuff from Max Light that I was like a little bit worried about the book itself surviving just being put into the bag. So I think a larger size bag and board for something like Fragile would make a big difference. You can almost see the smoke from John's ears.
Here, yeah, TJ is.
Oh, TJ's there.
Yeah.
What's going on, TJ?
So for me, like I only used poly bags until like this last year. That was what I used for everything. My LCS only buys those, and he gets them in the Silver Age size. He usually doesn't have any books bigger than that, so the books are certainly roomy in those bags. But I've never had a ding to the sides or anything because there's so much space in those things.
Yeah,
and then through Bueller, I tried the Max Lights, and the price, as long as I was buying enough that I was not paying shipping, the price was cheaper than I was paying for the poly bags at my shop. Yeah. So like it was I was spending less, and I felt like I was getting a sturdier bag with a sturdier backing board for my books. So I haven't gone to My Lights yet, just because I'm just not. I don't know that I'm ready. I've only got one in my collection, and it came from JP when he shipped me a book. So I was able to kind of make a little visual comparison that way, but it's the only one I've got.
Yeah, so that was just a My Light and a halfback is what I
okay.
So yeah.
Although TJ's probably going to say, John, I sent you a whole bunch. All my books are, and I was like, I didn't know.
I'm not a big fan of the My Lights myself, and it's you may say, oh well, you're an old fogey who's used to polybags. Well, that's true, but I just find that they have such a razor's edge that unless you're putting the comic in, and you have a perfect centering on how you slip them in, but if you're taking them in and out like I do because I read my comics and I use them in shows and so forth, I find that it's too much of a risk to damage them. I like the suppleness. I like the kind of give that a polybag that has. Now the ones that you're talking about, Jason, the Max Lights, right? Those I would feel comfortable with because they're not. They don't have that sharp edge. Yeah. So, but I'm not a big fan of the My Lights for comics that I'm taking in and out on a regular basis. Yeah. If you're just putting it there and that's your display, fine. But I kind of just have that. I've been doing this for a long time. Everybody is human, and sometimes you just put that corner in wrong and rip. So
yeah.
Now, Spidey Fan is saying that he feels like the Max Light current sizes are really tight. And I will say for anything, obviously they're not made for Silver Age. Don't even try. That you're going to ruin any Silver Age book. But I use the current ones for all the books I buy off the shelf, and I haven't had any issue with that. Now, like Metarog was saying, there's not a huge amount of room around the side. No. And let me see if I can grab something new that I've been just got.
I would say like the one thing I noticed with the Max Lights on that.
So here's a book that's Dead Man Logan, and there's just you can see there's barely any board space on the side there. It's just
their current ones.
That's the current modern ones.
Yeah, are fine for like literally current books, but even like my '90s books, when I tried to put a few of those in there, I think they're too small. Like I did not like the fit. So anything that like actually is 90s or older, I went to the Silver Age size of the Max Lights because I felt like they needed that space. Because I feel like they're super tight. Because like, I mean, even here, like you can see this is a brand new book, and yeah, I mean, you got a little bit. It does okay, but like I didn't dig out like a '90s one, but like on the '90s ones, there's not even that much space. It's basically the same width as the board, and I do feel like theirs are a little narrower than like the current BCW boards or whatever. Like, just on the sizing thing, it was something that kind of.
Yeah, and I would say like I noted I bought when I this latest round from Max Light, I included a whole bunch of Silver Age bags and boards just because I obviously had been getting more Silver Age lately, and I wanted to make sure I transitioned some of some of the cereal box backing boards out of there and get into something nicer. I will say that the basic Silver Age board is entirely too loose, and that 2 was like as loose as I was willing to have it be. I feel like what you've got, that thick backing board, would make a way better decision than what I've been using.
Yeah, and they're not super cheap, the thick ones.
It would depend on the brittle nature of the book. If something was spine ticked and flaky, I would be really nervous about it being that snug, just putting it in. So it does feel some cases, the older, more brittle books, it's almost like a case by case basis what you do and how many backing boards and whatnot.
Yeah,
and Golden Age especially, there's not really a uniform size. I mean, I have some Golden Age which are maybe 5 to 10% bigger than what I would call a regular, Golden Age, and for those, I mean, they are tight even in a super gold bag. So I have to be very careful, and those are the ones I kind of don't. Usually, my Golden Age I don't really take in and out all the time. But you brought up a good point, John, and that is that there's sort of a happy medium that you have to get to. You can't have the bag so loose that the comic is rolling around in there, because then you can have cornered things and so forth. But it can't be so tight that it warps the comic either. There's sort of a sweet spot that you have to get to, where it's tight enough that it's not going to maneuver too much in there, but it's not, so loose that the thing is rolling around, like a ball, rolling down a hill.
Definitely.
Now, again, when you think about comic collecting, and we're archivists, we're curators, and a lot of people will poke fun at us because of the links that we go to. But it really is a science of a sort, curating your comic collection and having just that right kind of bag, the right kind of board, the right kind of storage conditions, and mine has evolved over 40 years, and I think I've got it pretty much right now, but it took a long time of trial and error to get there.
Looks like Spidey Fan is saying that Max Pro has been out of certain items lately, but hopefully they'll be back in at some point.
So TJ is definitely a Mylar guy. So
yes.
He let's just be honest, he's a slab guy.
He's like even bothering with the Mylar step.
He's the guy who says if it's in a bag and board, it's still not in his collection officially.
Yeah. And that's cool. That's cool. I mean, we were on here with him, and super love the guy.
That was great.
But it's different strokes for different folks. That's all.
Yep.
Biggie says he uses sandwich bags, so we went through that at the beginning, Biggie.
I sold them a few times.
That's right.
I use that too.
I should try out ProCare current boards. They are bright, white, rigid, and priced right. I've not even heard of those, Spidey Fan. So that is interesting.
Let me show you guys how I roll.
All right, yeah, Matt. We haven't got.
Yeah, Matt's been he's been soaking it in over there.
So I get the Silver Age, Golden Age, my lights too, with full backs, and I found that as long as you've got them, nice and straight when you're putting them in the box, they've been kept really well. So
good.
There's an old one there. There's another. There's lots of space. So I know Roger was saying, it might ding around in there, but with these older books, they don't move around so much.
Yeah, they're a little thicker, so they don't move around as much. Yeah, that's true.
With these, they move around a little more. There is some room in there for them to move, but I don't touch my comics that often like you do, Roger. Mm-hmm. So they're just there chilling.
Sounds a little creepy when you say it like that,
but I'm a big believer of the resealable. I know NYC was saying he doesn't like those. I just when I got back into collecting, I took all my old bags off and put all new stuff, and having to put everything in and then put 2 pieces of tape. I caught so many books on tape that I was like, I'm done with it. I literally caught like 6 or 7 books like in a year, and I was like, all right, I just ruined that $40 book or that $20 book or that $100 book. And so I haven't done that with resealables, so they work for me.
Yeah, and I think that there's definitely a like like Roger's saying, there's a happy medium for what works for you, and it's not going to be the same for everybody, and it'll fit the style of collecting that you're doing. If you're planning on slabbing, you might have a different strategy than you would if you're planning on reading more of your books, and I think everybody's going to find that sort of stage in the process for them, and for me, the Max Lights have been a great middle ground for me. Then I might end up moving into a MyLight where I have certain books that get the MyLight treatment or whatever, and I might order a set of those at some point. But I could definitely see the value in it.
Yeah.
So Can't Get Enough asked about like how I do the tape thing. So I do 2 pieces of tape. They have a tab on the top side so that I pull them down.
Interesting.
Nice.
And basically, so that they're down. So when I flip when the flap comes up, I just push the tape down in the back underneath. So it's just underneath. And then I have a tab to pull it back out and down to then reseal it.
Nice.
So that is how I do the tape to avoid tape pulls.
I just use one piece of thicker tape, but I see exactly what you're doing.
So yeah, and I just pull it back down, like use those tabs that I have on the end, and then reseal it when I get done. And that
That's
is
a
how
great
I
idea. Great idea.
start doing the tape to avoid the tape pull thing.
Okay, here's my question:
Great
has
idea.
anybody seen that those tabs, if you got a whole bunch of books pushed up against each other, are going to start making dents in your books?
I haven't noticed that is true. Like, I mean, they're fairly, like, they're itty bitty, just enough I can get, like, the edge under them. Like, it's literally, I don't know if you can, like, if I can get it where you can see it, get the angle right. Like that's the tab.
Yeah.
So there's not much there. The one thing I will notice is by having the tab on the top, is you do sometimes, if you pull a book out of your box and you go to put it back in, you have to watch so you don't catch the tape on the books going in beside it.
Yeah.
So you do have to kind of watch that. So I don't know that it's a perfect method. Like I said, that's just what I've started doing. So far, I haven't noticed like any kind of problems with the books around it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now the other thing,
I love that idea.
part of that though, Matt, is the way I store my books. Is I store them back to back, front to front.
That's how I do it.
So the tape is never against the front of a book; it's against the board.
The back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have
That
like
should be
my
okay.
books are all in my boxes like this. So it's like front to front and then back to back.
Yeah, that's how I do.
Store all my
That should
books.
be okay. I would think that would be okay. Yeah. I would
Being
think
in the
that's a
cover.
very slight variation. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would imagine it would also depend on how tightly packed they're in a box.
Yeah.
Because I've seen some people doing the random polls on Instagram, and their books are so packed they can't get a finger in, and others that are so loose the books are moving around. I think it would depend on how tightly you packed it.
Yeah, that's another, I guess, issue we could talk about is how we store it into the actual boxes. That is an important dynamic here. Like if you tomorrow I have a video showing my room tour and I showed my new short boxes that I got from
I can't
Columbia
wait.
Hobby Supply, and I used the Bueller code. Yes, he's in the chat here. I used the Bueller code, and I got for about 50 boxes. I paid $100. I mean, a little more. So it was a heck of a deal. But anyway, what I noticed is that my long boxes were way too tight.
Yeah.
And when I was doing random pulls, you're right, John, I could barely get a finger in there. And most of the time it's okay, but I just felt uncomfortable. I knew that I was going to be moving them, a lot here in the next few years. So I went to the short boxes, and I'm only putting about 170 per. Now let me a proviso here. I put 2 to a bag. Okay, I'm a cheapskate collector. All right, and I put 2 to a bag. That's the way I roll. It saves space. It's half the boards and it's half the bags. I've been doing this for a long time. I've noticed no difference putting 2 in a bag versus 1 in a bag. All right. The only bad thing is that you can't see all your comics one way. You have to flip the box around to see the other half.
Yeah, it happens all the
Yeah.
time.
Well, you have to do that with the way I do it too.
Oh, that's right, because you do it back to back.
Yeah.
But to me, the perfect medium there is if you can get 2 fingers, if you can get 2 fingers this way, right? Not flat, but this way. You can get 2 fingers in there on the back and the middle and the front. You're good. Okay.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah,
can't,
I try not to
then
overpack
it's
the
not
box.
good.
It's a big deal for me. I like to
But
be
if
able
you,
to reach in.
but if you can also get like a fist in there or
No.
more, you're in danger of the bends,
Right.
right? They
Correct.
wobble too much.
Because the weights of the comic will like dominoes will sort of all that weight will go to one spot and that put pressure there. So you're either going to get a vertical crease or you're going to get some kind of little ding wherever that greatest pressure is. So you're right, John. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, because I've been doing some auctions, I've been selling some books, and it's been thinning my boxes out a little bit. So I'm starting to think, I got to go through and reorganize a little bit so that they're not as loose because they're starting to feel too loose now.
Right.
And you could create space. You can make spacers,
Yeah, I usually just
foam and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to store extra boards, like a stack of extra backing boards in those boxes too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to do that too, but it made the long boxes. It made them even heavier. So I
yeah. I've never messed with long boxes. They just seem too oblong for me, too difficult to move around. I love short boxes. In fact, before I got the Bueller Max Pro short boxes, I had even shorter short boxes. These they're like 3/4 boxes. They're like super tiny.
Oh yeah, those are small.
And I love them because I could move them around real easy. I still keep them on. My girls keep all their comics in these. They're super functional, but they're just super tiny. You got to have way more boxes.
Yeah.
TJ has advice for that, John.
Guys. I'm not sponsored at all. I'm not sponsored in any way, except that their discount is saving me from having to buy stuff.
No, he's talking about stop selling your books, and then you won't have that extra space.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were saying stop selling Max Pro, like I'm a shill or something. No. Yeah, I need to sell, TJ. I'm in. How much does a short box hold? You say like 200?
No, not for me. About 170 for me. Yeah.
Oh, I need to sell books.
Oh, how much was that in a short box or a long box?
Short.
170.
Yeah, but remember, I'm 2 to a bag and board though. So
Right.
if you do 1, it's probably like 150.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm more like 130 or something.
Well, and I also put trades at the front and back of every box.
Yeah, I see you do that.
Yeah.
I think I just like it especially with the boxes that have handles. You don't want the book pressing against the handle in any way. And I like to read my books in some cases over and over again. And if it's a really great story like Secret Wars or Batman Year One, I'm going to read it a ton, or I'm going to let my girls read it. I'm not going to give them the actual issues. So I can give them the Secret Wars trade and they can just plow through it.
Yeah, I usually put at least a couple of boards in the front and the back, because you're right, the handle only goes about halfway,
right?
That flap that goes up when you build the box.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually put and that is a sharp edge too if you put your finger there. So I usually put at least a couple backing boards so that it won't have at least that edge.
Yeah.
All right, so we're almost to our hour. Is there anything anybody wants to talk about that we haven't covered yet related to how you've collected? I guess the one thing is, John, Matt, sounds like Roger's probably, he kind of talked about how he's going to do it going forward, or he's pretty much got his system. John, where are you going? What do you think you're going to do from here on out, like in terms of bags and boards, or at least for the immediate future?
As far as bags and boards, I'm going to stick with what I'm doing with the Max Lights, I think, for the foreseeable future. I use some poly bags for, like Kavi is saying, certain new books, but I like the thicker plastic. I like the value that I'm getting out of that. So I'll probably be sticking with that for a while. I will say I'm preparing my first CGC submission order. So there's like a whole other layer of this collecting that I'm going into.
Yeah.
I have officially sent, and TJ's going to be freaking right now in the chat. I've officially sent like 20 books to a guy that I trust to just do a little prep and clean and press for me so that they're ready. They're modern books, so I'm looking for the highest grade possible. And they're mostly going to be books that I want to sell this first round so that then I can afford to send the books I want to get slabbed for me.
Smart.
Oh, no, you don't. I just got here. You have another hour to go.
I appreciate that you enjoy our discussion that much, TJ. So
I'm just glad he's not mad at me for not posting anything on my IG about this. I'm sorry. It was like a sneaky little, all of a sudden I'm here.
you know.
There is one more thing I wanted to say.
Okay.
That I have sort of an ultimate way of protecting my most valuable books, right? And this has kind of evolved too. But for example, honestly, this is like a 9.4, 9.6, right? Hulk 180, all right? And it's, to me, I'm one of those. Yeah, I like the 180 better than the 181. Okay, but I have a 181 that's like a 9.0. So what I do here is, Jason, I use a fullback, right?
Okay.
And the thicker one,
Right.
Okay. And then I do use a MyLite 2, but a Silver Age size, and then I slip it inside of a clamshell. A top loader.
Top loader. Yeah, I use the top loaders for some books.
Love top loaders. Yeah.
And the top loader has these very thick plastic corners. So, even if you put a stack of books on top of this, it won't affect.
Warp it. Yeah.
It won't warp it at all. And I've been doing that for quite a while now. My Hulk 181, my Hulk 180, my Werewolf by Night 32, all those keys that people go crazy for, which to me are just parts of my run, are in those kind of protection. And they have for many years. Never have had one issue with them, not even one. That's why I don't slab, because I just don't find the need for it.
Right. And I use the top loaders to keep the books. For the longest time, it's been the books that I'm thinking about slabbing. They're in top loaders. And then I can, if I do that, pull the trigger on a bunch of those, then then a new set of books will find homes in top loaders.
Yeah. That's kind of what I do. Is the books that I would consider slabbing are the books that are in top loaders.
Wow.
Yeah, Biggie was saying something about my midget comic, so I just wanted to show him. This is a homemade bag and board here in Casa de Metarog for my mighty midgets.
I was watching Comic Spectre, and he swears by Mylar in everything, brand new books, everything. And the way he's done it is that he buys them in bulk.
Yeah.
And because he buys in bulk, they come out to right about the same price that he would spend on regular poly bags and boards.
What's the bulk number that you have to hit, though?
Like 1,000. Yeah. So that's my issue. Lately, I've been trying to say, hey, it makes sense. But do I want to, take out a loan to get 1,000 MyLite 2?
And where do you store them? I think you almost need separate storage just for the empty bags and boards.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I guess if I was like part of like the Florida crew, they could all just make an order and just like meet in some place and like distribute amongst.
Hey, that's a good idea. That's a heck of an idea. Yeah.
I don't live that close to any of you.
Have regional MyLite orders. Yeah.
Regional MyLite.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. You got the Southern California group down there, John, I'm sure. And,
I was going to say the Florida group is probably the one to talk to. One person in Florida orders for everybody. They all just come to the same house.
In Central Florida, you have at least 10 guys over there. So they'll be fine.
Definitely.
100 each.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, like for me, I have probably because my comic shop gives me the BCW like bags and boards. Like my new books are going to stay in there for the most part.
Yeah.
Probably buying stuff before, like going forward. Like I have an order of my lights and fullbacks coming. So I'm going to start trying to make the transition to fullbacks. I think with that, that's probably still going to just be my more valuable books. But I'm probably like John and going to slowly start making, as I replace, making the transition to the Max lights. I do really like them. Like so far, I like that they don't do the wrinkly thing. I like that they're like a little thick, a little heavier. I'm definitely going down the road of thicker boards, like as I go forward. I am probably going to try to do like not necessarily the current size. I may try to size up just slightly and do thicker boards so that I have a little more room around the edges. But that's probably where I'm going. I think with bags and boards, at least for me, I think that's kind of because the price seems to be right, especially with, like you said, with the discount code that Bueller's put in the chat a couple times. The price is right on those. I can't really afford to go all Mylar. It's too much, and I don't like, and I can't take the loan to get 1,000. That's just, that's
right.
crazy. But I think that's the way I'm probably going to go. But that's just me.
Tommy, thank you. That's the comment I wanted you to highlight.
I bought from that same guy. That's where I've got all my lights from, man.
No, I did not see him. I wish I did. Although that's about what I like. I paid about that. Like I forget now exactly what I paid on Amazon for 50. I want to say it's right around there. Maybe it was like 34 or something. But
I was on Amazon doing it for a while. Then I found a guy cheaper on eBay.
Okay,
Popped
maybe
over.
it was 35 is what it was on Amazon, something like that. So I wish I'd seen that. I'll have to look for that going forward. So what about you? So Matt, where are you at? What are you thinking at this point?
I'm going to go slow. I just don't have the room. I mean, you guys have seen my little comic book nook. I just don't have much room to store 1,000 bags and boards,
Yeah.
But like who does? So like that's realistic. I mean,
yeah. So, and I mean, I've honestly been thinking, guys, about transitioning my collection again. I have so many runs. Like I have the entire Civil War, every single tie-in and crossover, Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity Wars, Infinity Crusade, Nightfall, like so many that I collected one at a time. And I've been thinking now that I have them, complete, I've read them, sending them out, selling them to somebody, and then just kind of slowly getting my collection to where it's just a whole bunch of slabs that I'm happy with,
Yeah.
And so, but I don't know. I think that one day and the next day I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I remember every single book and where I found it and who I was with. And it's just, I don't know. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, any books that are, more expensive that I have that like John, I'm waiting to slab or just that I want to keep for a while raw. I'm going to put those in my light twos with the full backs the way I've been doing it. And then my LCS, all the new books I get, he gives them to me bagged and boarded with BCW resealables. So I'm just going to go with that still,
Yeah.
So I mean, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
So the comment in the chat is, if you guys didn't know, is Comic Books NYC is giving the ID for the guy that he's been buying the fullbacks and my likes from on eBay. So that's what I've highlighted there. So
Don't sleep. Okay. Gotcha.
Which series can't get enough? Which are you talking about, man? Yeah, I got a whole bunch. I mean, I got World War Hulk, Avengers versus X-Men. I have so many runs that I've collected over the last 4 or 5 years that the entire third series of Doctor Strange, the entire second series of Ghost Rider, like.
Oh, you got to keep that one. Come on.
Yeah,
I know.
You got to keep that one.
well, like I went through the collection and I did move a few books and I was like going through it. And it's like, I got to keep that. It's not valuable, but I remember getting that and reading that. And it's like, I got to keep that. I got to keep that. It's like, I came up with like half of short box. I was willing to let go. It was like sad and pathetic. It's like, I did not like thin the herd at all.
Well, slowly my new books are taking over my old books because I get literally like 20 books a week.
Yeah.
And so, like, I have so many books now that I'm like, okay, I'm going to go through the new reads and get rid of them and sell them off. And then the same thing happens to me. I'm like, nope, my kids haven't read this one yet, so I can't get rid of this one. This one's so good. I like this. Well, this one's still incomplete, so I got to keep getting it, and like, I'm just stuck. But I'm getting rid of Daredevil. Anybody needs those?
Well, you mean like 2 weeks, and this is 2 weeks worth. It's better than a week worth, but this is cutting back. It's like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
I feel sorry for you guys. I feel sorry for you new comic buyer guys. I really do. I mean, the amount of money, and then you have to go to the shop, and you have to hope you. I mean, you got pull lists, I guess, but
yeah,
man, I tell you, I'm getting too old for that kind of chasing those kind of things.
Do you not pull?
I'm going backwards and forwards.
Roger, do you not get anything new at all? Any new reads?
No, I don't get. I haven't picked up a new series in the 21st century.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
2000, right into 2000 is when I totally gave up my last pull, and I think that was one of the Avengers, or it might have been in the Legion that I just stopped right around there.
Wow.
But I do go and buy back issues about every other week, go through their cheap bins, and of course get supplies. I do support them, but just not through new issues.
Man, you're in trouble.
What happened?
Look at TJ's comment. You're in trouble.
I'm sorry. That's just the newest Daredevil run. That's just the
The
newest.
Zdarsky run.
Yes. Yeah. I got like 1 through 9, and I got bored of it, and everyone loves it. So I'm like, I'm going to get rid of that one.
Yeah.
He's got 5 very mean-looking faces there.
Oh, TJ.
I mean,
I
I'd be
kept
worried.
I kept all the other stuff.
I'm a run collector, so to me, I mean that I see where Kavi is saying he's never completed runs, but to me that's why I can't let go, because it's like picking and choosing which of your children you're throwing to the lions. I mean, Fantastic Four, there's no way. Avengers, I've been collecting this in 1973. Even my E-Man, I was collecting that when I was a little boy, so I can't choose. So so it just keeps growing. I am selling about 100 comics that are kind of outside the era where I collected, and I had to suffer to get rid of those. Trust me.
Yeah.
But the ones that I collected as a kid, I can never get rid of those. Those will probably go to my estate.
No, I think like
Gotta make you happy, man.
from that I collected originally back in the 80s and 90s, or in the 90s and 2000s, and I probably won't get rid of anymore. Look at that book. Hang on, let's just.
It's first time it's debuted on YouTube, Instagram.
Is it really?
Yeah, I have so many books I haven't shown yet.
Yeah.
But
There you go, TJ.
there you go, TJ.
Ooh.
Makes me happy.
Just white or white. What's the page color?
Off white to white.
White to white. Nice.
I'll bring it
Show it
over
up close there.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go.
Hold
See,
on, there you
that's how you get back in TJ's good graces.
I remember I was gonna buy one for $50 back in the mid '80s,
go. Oh my gosh.
and yeah, okay, now that's not the tragic part. The tragic part is I didn't, because I bought a bunch of back issues of Legion of Superheroes.
Oh no. Oh, Roger.
Oh man,
Buy what you love, read what you buy, right?
Ah,
There you go. Can I see that comment? Love you too.
I've read the Legion to death. In fact, I'm rereading it again because I'm a fanatic of that series. But yeah, that's just the way I roll. I'm just way out there, guys. I know. I'm sorry about that.
Everybody collects their own way, and it's and you have to, like you said, read what you buy, and that's the one thing I don't want to do with these collecting smart things that Matt and I have both talked about is we're not going to tell anybody what to do. We're just going to talk about your options, and you have to decide for yourself what you want to be as a collector. And I have to redecide that almost every day. It's like, because I'm like, oh, I want that. I'm like, do I really want that? And so, it's just everybody has their own path. If we all were collecting the same stuff, we couldn't get any of it because it would all be like gone. That's why.
Good point. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point that it's kind of like society, right? That the variety of the spice of life. If we all ate the same foods and we all wore the same clothes, it would be a very dull, boring, and bland world.
Yeah.
And like she said, it would be interesting if you didn't have to like evaluate what you were doing and what you liked, and because it'd be pretty. You'd get there, Well, I wouldn't, but some of you would get there really quick. Some of you only had one goal, and it never changed. So.
Well, in the last 5 years I've been doing this, I've changed so many times. Like we're always changing what we want, what we desire, what's going on in life. How many guys in the community have had to sell their collection at one point or another and then get it back again? Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, I mean, things change.
Yeah, true. I've done the same thing in a sense, Matt. The ones that I have sold like in the past, and then I'm reading, and then I'm thinking to myself, why did I sell those? I mean, like a full run, like I sold my full run of Freedom Fighters, right? And of course, they're not worth anything, Matt. But to me, I'm like, I missed them, and so I got one in an AOK, and I'm like, oh, I got to get the whole thing, because it takes me back, and I remember the story, and I'm anticipating, what that villain's going to do, and I kind of have a vague memory, and so I have to get I it's an OCD thing, I guess. I just have to have it all so I can see the full picture.
Yep.
And so I'm missing 2 issues, but I'm almost there.
That's why I'm like you, man. I mean, I got back into collecting because I watched Man of Steel, fell in love with that movie, went upstairs, pulled out the comics I hadn't touched for 5-6 years, started reading Death of Superman, and I'm like, okay, I don't have the next issue. And my kids are like, we got to find out what happened. So we started going to all the different comic book stores, and then all of a sudden we've collected all of Death of Superman, Funeral for a Friend, The Reign of the Superman, Return of Superman, and then it went, okay, well, what I need next? Infinity Gauntlet. I have 2 books here. Let's do Infinity Gauntlet, and then so these are all full of all these runs,
Yeah.
Oh, the rabbit holes we go down
Yes.
are very deep.
Oh my God.
Yes. Oh boy. Boy, oh boy.
Well, you guys, we're well over an hour at this point. You guys got anything you want to pitch and you got coming up before we get off of here? John, you got anything coming up? Like, a contest winner announcement?
I don't think there's anything big on my channel. No, Wednesday I got the usual stuff. Friday I'm on that guy's channel down there.
Yahoo!
Another Comic Gories round. And then it's hopefully Saturday night. I will be doing our announcement winners for the contest. The girls are still. I don't want to like make them watch all the videos at once. So it's like, hey, we'll watch a couple tonight. Oh, we'll watch a couple, and then like
okay.
they can kind of get a better view of it. And then we'll do it early enough that the girls can be on and like talk about it and like share their thoughts as we go through it. And then yeah. So hopefully Saturday night. I've done 2 little videos of like updates to make sure people know, hey, is your video counted? Did I count you? I just really don't want that one person who made a video and didn't let me know to be like, oh, wait, I made the video.
So, well, I think by now, surely they would have let you know. So, because you have
glitter and duct tape. It is officially Charlie's birthday today. So she's 9.
Woohoo!
yes, happy birthday, Charlie.
She's back down the hall enjoying her breakfast for dinner after math. She's just slouching around reading a book somewhere.
Cool. To be 9.
Oh yes, what a great age! What a great age!
Yeah,
what a great age!
I agree. NYC future writer, old man wolf.
Oh, man.
yes, yes.
That's awesome. That would be
I
awesome.
would definitely read it.
Hey, how do you like the way they're using him in Absolute Carnage?
It's cool. Now I haven't read the like spin-off that he's got a bigger part in, but I've just been reading the main title in Venom. But I haven't read. Was it Absolute Carnage? Sirens or something? He's like in it significantly, and I'm like, man, now I got to go find this run, and I read that book.
Yep.
But I heard he was in it, so I was like, okay,
it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Hey, Kate.
Hello.
Get in bed, you goofball.
Hello, glitter and duct tape.
I love how she reads the chat.
Yeah, she loves reading the
I
chat.
love reading the chat.
She likes to comment. She likes to hit the like button. She does all of it.
And
Oh,
so,
you're gonna be a great YouTuber.
She's a great YouTube viewer
You're
for
a great
sure. Yeah.
YouTuber. Remember to subscribe to all our channels, Kate.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's
She'd watch YouTube all day with her old man if possible.
awesome.
All right. Okay.
A family that watches YouTube together stays together. Remember that.
The next thing we know, she's going to be in the seat. John's going to be in bed.
take over.
That's awesome.
All right. What about you, Metarog? You got anything coming up this week?
Yeah. I mean, Thursday, as always, I have my contest roundup, and usually I do a few. But tomorrow, I have I'm going to do a updated room tour, and you're going to see my new shiny short boxes.
Can't wait.
And a couple posters, and some video game stuff I got around. A few updated things. I got a bunch of comics I put on display here for your viewing pleasure. You're going to see the graveyard of old long boxes that I replaced. And then I have a contest that I was going on.
Oh, I got to do that too.
And well, it's too late now.
Oh, is it? Okay.
The winners I've already went to the convention. I picked out.
Oh,
What I did is I asked people to let me know what they wanted me to search for in this convention that I went to this weekend. And the first 3 comics that I found from certain people won. So they're going to get the comic that they wanted, plus I'm going to add in a few other goodies.
That's cool, man.
And then I have a little haul that I picked up there as well. And that's for tomorrow. And then Thursday, contest roundup. And then Thursday night, we have Raiders Notes.
Nice. I will shout out J Hood Creative. It's putting out his first video tomorrow. He's been talking about it. He's been working on it for a while. So definitely go check that out. If you have not subbed to his channel, you should. And check out his first video. Congratulations, J Hood, on finally taking the leap.
There you go. I just put the bell notification on for J Hood. Let's go.
There you go.
Everybody follow suit. Let's go.
And TJ says we can wrap up now because Alex on. So there you go.
favorite son.
Yeah, the favorite son. You're just second best, John. Apparently. So.
I don't know that I'm even second. I think Matt might be up there.
Yeah, that's true. Thanatos is,
Thanatos might be actually the favorite.
So
respectfully, understand.
Rod the Rican just popped in.
Hey, Rod. So, okay, Matt, what do you got coming up?
So the only thing I want to shout out right now is Comic Gory's Friday Night Fights. John and I are going to be hosting some epic people, including Rob Wurst, who is in the chat.
Nice.
Bake the Snake. He is the 3-time champ, so I got to
Somebody's got to beat this guy.
I know.
Oh yeah,
I know.
he's amazing.
So that was fun. I'm sending him one of these facsimiles. I'm going to ask him which one he wants, and then oh wait, he was supposed to open that live, huh? Anyway,
Gotta be there tomorrow, Matt.
yeah, I know, right? And then
Well, not tomorrow, but like Friday.
Friday, yeah.
Friday, yeah.
And then we've also got Comic Head 84 and Conquistadorks Hobby. They'll be the other 2 contestants on with it. So
That's a good crew.
yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna
We
be.
had 4 Floridians in there. Wow.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. Wow.
So and then everyone keeps. I like literally continue to get messages on Instagram like, dude, do it sooner. I'm like, I can't do it without John. So I may try to throw together like a rematch or something, and if John can make it in, then he'll be there. If not, maybe we'll have Bake since he's always on the show. You know what I'm saying?
Give him a referee slot.
Right. This is what you've won. You now have to be the ref when John is not here.
You have a job. Good work.
But that's it. That'll be Friday, and the times it might change a little bit. So I got to get with you, John, because my kids have all kinds of stuff going on that evening. So, but that's it.
All right. Let's see. What do I have coming up? Hopefully we'll have another Let's Collect out at some point this week. It'll be Let's Collect Silver Surfer. So the Silver Surfer fans can take shots at me for not knowing enough, but we'll see. I think I did pretty good research on this one. So it is recorded. I just need to edit it. Hoping they have that out maybe Thursday. Obviously the top 10 will be out again Saturday. And I have my comic shop has a 2-year anniversary coming up this weekend. So I'm going to go. They're having a bunch of artists there. I'm going to try to get a couple sketch covers done over the weekend. So I will show those off at probably Sunday night. I'll probably wait till my Sunday night live stream to do that. And then what else do I have coming up? Finally, because Bear Island schedule is going to work, we're going to shoot for the 30th to do Black Mirror for Gotham City Chronicles with me, Comic Books NYC, and Bear Island is joining us. And is there anything else? I can't think of anything at the moment. I want to say thank you to everybody that's tuned in tonight. The chat has been hopping. There's been a bunch of people in here, in and out, and those that stayed the whole time and those that just came for part of it. Thank you so much. I am rapidly approaching 500 subs, which blows my mind. So we'll probably have to do something. I was actually originally going to wait till 600. We'll see. I may do like a road to 600 or something once I get over 500.
Throw a party, bro. Throw a party. I recommend it.
Yeah, or maybe we'll do a party thing when I get to 500. And
Party. I'm doing the same thing when I get to 1,000, man. We're throwing a party.
Yeah.
that was so much fun.
Gonna
The
give
party
away a bunch of stuff, man.
so much
For
fun.
sure.
So, yeah, definitely need to do something like that.
Yeah, let's do it.
So yeah, I think that's it. Thanks again. Hydra's dropping in here right at the end. Thank you, Hydra. And I think we've shouted out most everybody else that has dropped in at some point. Ruben dropped in. I don't think we ever shouted you out, Ruben. Thank you so much.
Ruben Nieves, ¿cómo estamos, mi amigo?
Yeah, so he dropped in here just in the last few minutes. Hopefully you guys found this worthwhile. I found it worthwhile. I think I learned some stuff. So, and with that, Matt, you want to handle the going out?
That's right, baby. Thanks for being here. And Mischief managed.